What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Off the Top Rope, Off the Mic Sports Network. We might have a resolution soon on the media rights distribution of TNA. That's been a big discussion in the wrestling space lately. Obviously, WWE and TKO had two major media rights deals. Obviously, WWE with their premium live events going to ESPN starting next year. And then obviously the UFC with a big media rights deal with Paramount to air their stuff on the Paramount networks moving forward. And that's a massive deal for that sport. I think it was like a $7 billion deal, which is wild amounts of money. Like I think it was over $9 billion in media rights deal money that was exchanged between TKO and Paramount and ESPN, which is crazy. But TNA seemingly we're close to a resolution. They've been on the market, and this could really, shake up the professional wrestling landscape. John Alba over at Sports Illustrated, writing for the Takedown, reports that they're looking at something average annual value of $7 to $10 million. Seems like they are interested in potentially, having something done before Bound for Glory in October. And what's interesting is they're in discussions about being on a WWE associated network. And, whether it's the CW, whether it's A&E, USA, it probably won't be on Peacock, but, maybe they go that route. Whatever it is, TNA is going to be on a much bigger platform than they've been on in the last, like I'd say 10, 15 years at least, since the days that they were on Spike TV. Like they haven't been on, and that the Spike TV is the Paramount network effectively now. So this is potentially shaping up to be a really interesting moment. And then the other interesting part of this report is that TNA is reportedly considering moving to Wednesday nights to go head to head with AEW. And a lot of, AEW people and fans and people within the wrestling industry are kind of scoffing at this concept because Dave Meltzer, even though I take a lot of what he says with a grain of salt, saying the mindset behind WWE trying to compete with the pay-per-views of AEW is to try and boot AEW out of the number 2 spot and put TNA in that spot. Like a lot of people think WWE already owns TNA. There's no reason to believe that yet, but hey, because really we've only had one main roster star go to WWE, but obviously WWE and their NXT talent now hold the men's and women's world championship in TNA. But this is an interesting development, and to those people who think that this is nothing to sneeze at, this is a big deal. Because say what you will, even though TNA has not drawn very well on and hasn't been on a major distributor in a decade, there's momentum behind this company. There is momentum. There absolutely is. WWE is backing it. They're going to do everything they can to, inject life into this, whether it's through their NXT talent or, who knows, maybe main roster talent get involved. They're going to do everything that they can through their partnership with TNA to, make TNA, whenever they get a distributor, into a long-term deal. And I said this months ago, that if TNA gets on a major network, whether it be on network television or on cable television, and they start off with a bang, with which I know they will, because hey, they've got WWE in their partnership, so they want to showcase in any way they possibly can, and they've got recognizable people on their roster. They do. Joe Hendry, who knows if he's going to be there, if he's going to be in WWE at some point, but they've got recognizable people on their roster. Former WWE people have gone over there and had a lot of success. It's going to be one of those things where if you're an AEW fan, I wouldn't be immediately worried, but I'd get your shit together really soon. Because if TNA goes to a better network, gets a decent media rights deal, and gets more exposure, WWE is going to back the shit out of them. And they're going to do everything they can to make sure that TNA is more of a success than you are. Like, whether this is petty or not, I'd be concerned. This is nothing to scoff at. If you're one of these AEW fans who's complaining about it, do better television. If you're going to tell me that your show is in such in AEW is as good as it's ever been. Where are the ratings? Where are the ratings? You had you dipped below 700,000. You had a nice week last week. You dipped below 700,000. Congratulations. Like, you're going into a pay-per-view where you're blowing through a bunch of big moments. Like, yeah, you're going to have bigger arenas. And I know this is another topic of discussion when it comes to NXT versus AEW. Produce better television. NXT, and I've said this on a bunch of my live streams, NXT and even TNA, they take risks. They take risks. Some of them may not work, but they're willing to take risks that even the main roster WWE is not willing to do. Like, TNA didn't crown Mike Santana at, their biggest show that they've done in a long, long time. One of the biggest shows ever. Back at Slammiversary, back in July. They didn't do it, and they should have done it there, but they didn't. And we'll see if it ends up reaping the rewards, because hey, this could lead to like an invasion thing crossing over. Whatever TNA does get, it's going to shake up this industry. It really is. I'm not saying that TNA is going to put AEW out of business. AEW's got more money than TNA. But what TNA has is, to me, I think they book their talent better. I think they put their talent in situations like, where whether or not like you're taking chances and it's not boring, at least they're trying to do something. AEW and in some degree WWE have kind of gone through the motions, really, because they're just doing the by the numbers, paint by numbers stuff that really, hey, a lot of people could do in their sleep. And they're just coasting off of the fact that, hey, they've got major distributors and they're getting money. More WWE more so than AEW, because AEW's got a really rich owner who has big pockets and can bring in whatever talent he wants. He's got bigger resources than maybe even WWE, even though WWE is such a fucking machine. It's just one of those things that, like I said, if you're an AEW fan and you're just scoffing at this, I would caution at you to, take this at least a little bit seriously, because to me, I think that TNA has had a lot of momentum behind it the last couple of years, whether you're annoyed by it or not. It's got the backing of WWE. That means something. So if they end up on a WWE affiliated network, which it seems like that's the pathway, whether it be, like I said, A&E, or, you go to Peacock exclusive, you could do that. I mean, I don't know how you get ratings like that, but they're probably going to go to a linear network. That's probably what it's going to be. So it might be CW. That's what I've heard a lot of momentum behind that. And if they want to go on Wednesday night, I don't think this isn't TNA going after WWE back 15 years ago when Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff were running things, which really sank TNA for years. Like, that was a huge mistake. This isn't that. TNA, if they get the right momentum and they get a good launch out of them with the backing of WWE, this could be a problem. This could be a problem. And AEW better get their shit together. They better start booking more compelling television, because if there starts to become a genuine interest in TNA, you're going to be looking around, and the numbers that you guys are getting, which, hey, they dipped below 600,000, you got up over 700,000, but that's your limit. That's your limit. So this could turn into a real decision for people if TNA, when they get an actual, opportunity on network or cable television, to, pose a choice to wrestling fans. And I know obviously the diehard sickos on Wednesday are probably not going to watch TNA, but there are a lot of people in the middle that have drifted away. You've seen that number continually go down because that company has really just gone into booking for the sickos, and that's not the way to build your company. So to me, this is going to be a fascinating watch. We'll see. I don't know, but it's going to be very interesting. So anyway, that's it for that story. We'll have a lot more coming here on the channel. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys. Bye-bye.